Hi guys, it's ALCHEMY. How's everyone doing? Good, I hope. Sorry, I'm laughing because just before this the birds were screeching their heads off and I started singing my own little song about never having any peace in here. And they've become really quiet, so maybe they like my singing. Today it is a NEZ magazine overview. I just finished issue 7. I'm getting there, I'm trying to catch up, but I never seem to do it. So before I start, the lovely people at NEZ magazine allow me, when I buy and review one of their magazines, to give a copy of it to one of you guys. This is a giveaway video. If you want a copy of this issue of NEZ magazine, leave a comment below. I will pick someone and then NEZ magazine will send you it. It is open to everyone, which is great, right? Anyway, issue 7, as you can tell, was all about the animal sense, and not just humans and the way we smell and the way we perceive things, but also other creatures in the animal kingdom. That was the main article, but of course they have their usual things, which I always enjoy. I made some notes about some of the things I want to touch on, but for now, let's go through. It's a quick chit-chat overview, NEZ magazine amazingness. You guys know I love this magazine. It's, for any perfume lover, it's something you have to have on your coffee table or on a shelf somewhere. I'm just collecting them for as long as they make them. I will be buying them. So as always, every NEZ magazine comes with a scratch and sniff card, and this one said, warning, do not poke the bear. And on the other side it said, tickle its tummy instead. And it was a scratch and sniff of a skank, a skanky smell. So right, I mean, I kind of like animalic smells, but yeah. And this artwork, or this way that this looks, is what the main article looked like. There were lots of animals drawn in this lovely arty style. That's one of the things to note about NEZ magazine. It is arty. So, there's always a really beautiful advert in the opening part of it. There's an advert for Roboter. I mean, even the adverts are beautiful. Do you know what I mean? Roboter are one of the biggest suppliers of raw materials to the perfume world. So there's a little bit called Homo olfactus. I can't remember what that was about, but it's like an opening thing. How interesting. This is off the cuff, but for the month of June, I'm only wearing samples. I've got a bag of about 30 samples that is 30 days in June, so I'm wearing one a day. The first one, because it was the 1st of June yesterday, was by this company, Maison Rabachi. So that's really odd. The universe does strange things sometimes. So it's an introduction to all of the writers, the nose of photographers. So this is an article where they ask 5 photographers similar questions about the smells they like. Can photographs capture a smell? Is there a smell that you'd like to be able to capture? All kinds of things. So it's got 4 photographers and they ask them stuff about the smells of the photo processing liquid, all things like that. It's always a joy. The next page is icons. So they always talk about, I mean, if you guys have watched my NEZ videos before, you will know that they have a format, and I talk about the format every time. This one is always about people that have contributed to the fragrance industry or in some way, not necessarily perfume. And the one I want to point out is this one, which is Karun Karayanaka. So he has invented something whereby you attach it to your nose and it sends tiny vibrations which can trick your brain into making you think you're smelling something that's not quite there or not there at all. And they talk about how they might incorporate that into virtual reality computer games, which me as a gamer, that is amazing. And I did try virtual reality for the first time a couple of months ago and I was blown away by it. So incorporating smell into computer games, mind-blowing. That's the bit that stuck out to me. Just to note as well, this one up here, Anna Liu, she's working on something called a smell fee, and it's the possibility of recreating the smell of a loved one or of encapsulating a person's olfactory identity like a snapshot in a vial. I go to a place in my head for people that have lost loved ones, and that might be something really cute and amazing for them to bring back the smell of someone that they love. I don't know if that's creepy or lovely. I think it's lovely. Anyway, moving on. So they always have this Odorama, and it's about 6 or 7 pages long, and they first explore a molecule or a single note or something like that, and this one was all about woody ambers. So it talks about ambroxan, it talks about ambergris, and it talks about all the different kinds of variations of woody ambers and molecules in perfume. And look what it says right here. Let me see if the camera will focus it. It says, ouch. I'm in the magazine, guys, I'm famous. There's literally so many. It talks about Cashmeran, it talks about ISOE Super, it talks about Amber Extreme, Amber Star, Amber Max, Bellambra, Super Ambrox, Ambranone, I mean, loads. And there's the little suggestions up here which are, you know, things that have woody ambers in them. So the natural material they chose to talk about this time was pepper. They've done blackcurrant, they've done carrot, they've done multiple other things, but this one was about pepper, and I did like a tiny bit here, and it says fake peppers. We often use the word pepper to refer to spices that are not pepper but are used in a similar way. These include pink pepper, which shouldn't be confused with red pepper, and Timot pepper, whatever that is. And it goes on to talk about how there's actually only 2 real peppers that are used in perfumery, so anything else that says pepper is synthetic or an accord. So yeah, there's some great examples of peppery perfumes here, if you're ever looking for some, if that's your bag. And then they always do an environment or a place that has a lot of smell in it. They've done a garage, they've done a gym, they've done a house party, and this time it was the beauty salon. It's kind of like a Wes Wally picture, don't you think? It makes you look at it kind of in close detail, and then they've got little numbers around the picture, and then on the next page you can read what they all are. So there's lipstick, there's, what are those things? Rasool mud, nail polish remover, hair removal wax, stuff like that. And then this next part was really interesting. It was, why do roses in a florist shop have no scent? I found some really great information about this, about why modern day roses don't really smell. And they touch on things like rose breeders creating new types of roses that are more for aesthetics as opposed to the actual oil. And it reminds me of a perfume that I have called Athonial Rosa by Diptyque, where the artist had a rose bred for him, but then realized you can't distill it, so they had to use headspace technology. So that's a little bit about roses and how a lot of them don't actually smell anymore because, you know, they're hybrid, mutant type roses. So that was, I really liked that. The next bit is called Connections. There's lots of different bits in here, and the first part is about H.P. Lovecraft, famous writer. Sorry, I just had to cover the birds up because it's just constant noise. No wonder people don't subscribe to me. Anyway, H.P. Lovecraft, The Smell of Terror, and it talks about a lot of the things that he wrote and how he talked about smell. Yeah, and just, it's kind of a bit of a sinister article, but it talks about a lot of things where scent was incorporated to create this weird atmosphere in a lot of the things that he wrote. So the next bit is India. So when I turned this page, I gasped and smiled and was very happy because if you guys know me, you know I love India, everything about India. So this whole next part was talking about the all but forgotten treasure of Kannauj, which is a place, I believe, yeah, town of Kannauj in Pradesh. And it talks about this blend that they make there that has got so many things in it. It's an age-old recipe, really wonderful photography, as always with NEZ magazine. In the belly of the temple, there's some art. I mean, look at this. Some of the pages are just one big picture that you can just look at and fall into, kind of. So I really liked that. Look at this one. That's like an offering in a temple. So yeah, it talks about all kinds of things. It's not very long, but it talks about this ancient thing that I really want to smell. I want to go there now and smell it. I think I sent an email to these people. There's a place where they sell it, and I think I sent an email saying, hi, by the way, I'm a YouTuber, I just read about you in NEZ magazine. The next one is an interview with a guy called Chris Powers. They always focus on a person that is very well established in their craft, and it's usually something to do with smell. This one was about craft beer. They have done a coffee place, they've done a spice one, they've done a tea one. So this was about him. What is craft beer? What kind of blends do you use? What sets it aside from normal beer? All that kind of stuff. And then we come to aromas and artwork. They always have this, and where they take a painting and discuss it. And it's what I like about this is I don't really go to art galleries. I don't know about you guys, but you know, you see people staring at these paintings and what does it make me feel? And what was the artist thinking of when they painted it? And what does that brush stroke mean? When I read this, I noticed things in the painting that I would never have looked at, you know, first glance. So that's pretty cool. It talks about smell, it talks about what's going on in the picture. I mean, it's 4 naked ladies, but there's stuff happening. There's a dead bird in it. There's a leopard print thing. So they talk about stuff like that. Then the main magazine, but before that, there's a really, really cool thing from Celine Eleanor called Anthropomorphism, and it talks about, I mean, she's the granddaughter of Jean-Claude Eleanor, so hugely famous perfume family. She talks quite frankly about growing up with this famous grandfather and what it was like. She talks about when she used to date guys, and when she introduced them to her grandfather, he would kind of sniff them and stuff, and how awkward it is. So I really liked that little piece there. She's written things in quite a lot of the issues so far. She pops up all over. Main magazine part. In Grasse, they simply call it the flower. This one is all about jasmine. It's about the cultivation of jasmine in Grasse, how they do it, very much detailed, very much beautiful photography. Ideas for jasmine perfumes, that's always in there. Whatever they're talking about, there'll be a little bit that says, hey, you can try it here, kind of thing. So it's got A La Nuit, it's got J'adore, it's got Number 5 by Chanel, of course. So that's really good. Then some of my favorite things about NEZ magazine is when they interview a perfumer, because I love getting into the brain of a perfumer and just finding out about them and where they started and how they create and what their inspirations are. This one is, what's his name? I'd actually never heard of him. How bad is that? I don't know all of it. Jacques Cavalier Bellatru. I'm sure I've smelled a lot of things by him, but he made Issey Miyake. He made the original Issey Miyake, so that was his kind of groundbreaking thing. They talk about their career, where they've been, how they, just everything. He says, I like expressive perfumes full of contrast, made in such a way that you get to know them the more you wear them. He made Kingdom for Alexander McQueen, a fantastic perfume that is now unfortunately discontinued. But yeah, he made L'Odyssée for Issey Miyake, so quite important. He made Classique for Jean-Paul Gaultier. I mean, big perfume. Oh gosh, he made Stella by Stella McCartney, which is, of course, used to be my signature for the longest time. Then we have the decade. They've done 80s, they've done the 20s, and this time it was the 50s. So if the 50s is your thing, you know, you love that whole era, this was really great. They talk about the main big perfume houses that were bursting onto the scene in the 50s. So you had Caron, you had Guerlain, you had Dior, Chanel and Balmain as well. And I really want to read you the tiny bit about Guerlain, a tiny bit of the Guerlain section, because I don't know where these people find out this information that write this, but I love it because it's like little secrets and things that, I don't know, I just don't know how they know, but I loved this thing about Guerlain. And look at this original advert for Poivre, so cool. Anyway, so it says, I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but it is really cool. It says, it talks about, I'll just tell you. It's called A Gentle Handover at Guerlain. It says, in those days, there was an agreement within the Guerlain dynasty that only one descendant from each generation could go into the business, no doubt to avoid a concentration of family power. Makes sense. Too many Guerlain people, too many cooks spoil the perfume. In the early 1950s, it was decided that Patrick Guerlain should be trained up to succeed his grandfather, Jacques, as house perfumer. Meanwhile, Patrick's brother, Jean-Paul, worked as their grandfather's apprentice, helping to weigh out and learning to create fragrances from short formulae. The winter of 1955 was particularly harsh and the flower crops suffered from severe frosts. Nonetheless, suppliers Bertrand Ferret in Grasse miraculously managed to provide Guerlain with a small container of daffodil essence so they could continue to produce Vol de Nuit. If you've smelled Vol de Nuit, it's great, but after taking receipt of the package, a lab assistant accidentally threw it in the coal burner. Somebody got fired. Exasperated, Jacques Guerlain asked Jean-Paul to reproduce the scent of daffodil, no doubt to test him. The apprentice rose to the challenge using a blend of natural and synthetic materials. His grandfather was astounded by the result and, doubtful that it was genuine, insisted on seeing Jean-Paul weigh out the cord in front of him. Again, the scent was bewilderingly realistic. Jacques picked up the phone and called his son Jean-Jacques to announce that Jean-Paul, and not Patrick, would be the grandson to succeed him. I love stuff like that. How cool is that? I wonder who that person is that threw away that really precious daffodil essence. Ah, you're fired. The next bit is always in the magazine and it's great. It's the fantasy perfumery. These people are all people from the 50s. Katharine Hepburn, Pablo Picasso, Elvis Presley, and it's like they walk into a shop and a shop assistant recommends them a fragrance. That's always really good. Then we come to the main article. I won't go into too much detail because it's lengthy, but the main articles are The Beast in Us, and that's about our sense of smell. Then you have The Sense of Smell of Animals, and it goes through all the different animals, not all of the animals, it's not Noah's Ark going on, but you've got the frog, the dog, the snail, about how their sense of smell works. Dolphin, snake. I mean, these articles are quite lengthy, but this is why it takes me long to read them. Ingredients in the dock. That was the next part. And this one is all about animal materials used in perfumery and the controversy that surrounds it. It talks about the main 5 ingredients: castoreum, civet, ambergris, hyraceum, and musk. So they have to talk about animalics, and I was waiting. They talk about different perfume companies that use them. They talk about animals represented in perfumery, you know, like Cartier with the panther, and there's a Dior one that had a lynx or something like that, and then there's Magritte where there was scratches across someone's back. That kind of thing. They talk about how horses aren't really ever represented in fragrance until NEZ came along. But anyway, all kind of stuff like that, which is really interesting. And I was waiting for zoologist to be mentioned. I was thinking, why isn't zoologist in this article? And then they popped up and I was really, really happy. Whole section about ambergris, scents of feather and fur. Won't go into detail because we'll be here all day, but it's about fur in perfume and the representation of it. I thought about Bengal Rouge by Papillon. And then at the back, you've got perfume pages. Are perfumes too expensive? What do you guys think? So that obviously goes into production. Do things cost what they really should? The overheads, it makes you understand a bit more why brands charge what they do. So that's quite cool. There's a tiny bit about a guy called Lorenzo Villoresi. I think he works for Coty. Tiny bit there. And then you have a timeline about green fragrances. They always have some kind of flow chart in them. So this one was about green fragrances, aromatic greens, how things stemmed from other things, if that makes sense. You've got green violets, green chypres, woody green, fresh green, and lots of different examples. Then coming to the end, they always review 30 new fragrances. So it just goes along like that. There's all different kinds of fragrances, things that are new on the market. This one, because I'm a bit behind, but yeah, it's still interesting to read them. And then at the very back you have agenda, which is all about events and things. I always say that I'm too late because I read them too late because I really devour them and savor them. And then the final bit is a little story by Alexis Troublanc, and it's about a movie called Border, I think, and the main character is very aware of her sense of smell, and it's incorporated into the film, and now I kind of want to watch it. So yes, that is a quick chit chat and overview of issue 7 of NEZ magazine. Now I can dive into issue 8. Again, this is a giveaway video, so if you want to win NEZ magazine, yeah, leave a comment below and I will respond to the winner in a week's time, and then we will sort it out by email, and yeah, NEZ magazine will send you this so you can have fun with it as well. That's it, guys. Anyway, I'm out to Mono, trying to make the world smell better, one video at a time. I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.